Your mind needs direction. I want you to listen to this not with your ears alone, but with the deepest part of yourself. Because the greatest force you will ever command is not money, not strength, not luck, and not circumstance. It is the power of your own mind. Every victory you admire, every empire you study, every fortune that seems larger than life was first conceived in silence, inside the mind of one individual who decided to believe before the world gave permission. Your mind is not a passive place, it is a factory, it is a battlefield, it is a throne room. And every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are either ruling it with intention or allowing it to be ruled by fear, doubt, habit, and the opinions of others. There is no neutral ground. The mind never stands still. It is always moving toward something, toward growth or decay, toward courage or retreat, toward creation or collapse. Most people live far beneath their potential, not because they lack talent, but because they have never been taught to respect the power they carry between their ears. They wake up each morning surrendering their thoughts to circumstance. They allow the news to shape their mood, their past failures to shape their expectations, and other people's limitations to shape their dreams. And then they wonder why life feels small, heavy, and repetitive. But the moment a person discovers the true power of the mind, everything changes. The mind works on belief, not on wishes, not on hope, on belief. Whatever you hold consistently in your thoughts, whatever you emotionally accept as true, your mind begins to organize your actions, habits, and decisions around it. The mind does not argue with you, it obeys you. If you tell it you are weak, it will prove you right. If you tell it success is impossible for someone like you, it will find evidence everywhere. And if you tell it calmly, repeatedly, with conviction that you are capable of growth, discipline, and greatness, it will begin to open doors you never knew existed. This is not magic, this is law. I have studied the lives of men who rose from nothing and women who built influence out of obscurity. I have watched failure bend them, test them, and attempt to break them. And every time the difference was not intelligence or opportunity. It was mental control, the ability to direct thought instead of being directed by it. Consider Edison, who failed thousands of times before light obeyed him. His mind was not obsessed with defeat, it was occupied with discovery. Failure did not enter his identity because his thoughts were anchored to purpose. Or consider Ford, who was mocked, bankrupted, and doubted relentlessly. His mind refused to accept the verdict of the crowd. He thought in terms of systems, vision, and persistence, and eventually the world reorganized itself around his ideas. Your mind does the same thing on a smaller scale every single day. It organizes your world according to the images, words, and emotions you allow to dominate it. Clarity is where power begins. A scattered mind produces scattered results. A focused mind becomes dangerous. When you know what you want, when you define it clearly, when you hold it long enough to feel real, the mind begins to eliminate distractions automatically. You stop chasing everything and start moving deliberately. Purpose sharpens thought, and sharp thought multiplies force. But clarity alone is not enough. Belief is the fuel. You must believe not only that your goal is possible, but that you are worthy of pursuing it relentlessly. Most people sabotage themselves here. They want success, but they secretly believe struggle is their natural state. They dream of freedom, but identify as victims of circumstance. And the mind cannot create what the identity rejects. Change your identity and behavior follows. Change your beliefs and action becomes natural. The mind aligns with whatever version of yourself you accept as true. This is where discipline enters. Discipline is not punishment. It is mental alignment in action. It is the decision to act in harmony with your future self rather than obey the impulses of the moment. The disciplined mind is not loud. It is quiet, controlled, and consistent. It understands that emotions come and go, but commitment must remain. Every day your mind is presented with choices, to act or delay, to focus or drift, to rise or retreat. These choices seem small, almost insignificant, but compounded over time, they become destiny. The mind is shaped by repetition. What you repeatedly think, you eventually become. What you repeatedly do, you eventually embody. Gratitude strengthens the mind in ways few people understand. A grateful mind cannot be easily defeated. Gratitude keeps you anchored in abundance while you pursue more. It prevents desperation, which clouds judgment. The mind that appreciates progress stays resilient during delay, and delay is not denial. Delay is preparation. Adaptability is another expression of mental power. The rigid mind breaks under pressure. The flexible mind bends, learns, and advances. When plans fail, the powerful mind does not collapse. It recalibrates. When doors close, it searches for windows. When conditions change, it changes with them. This is not weakness, this is intelligence in motion. Resilience is forged in thought before it appears in action. Long before the world tests you, your mind decides whether you will endure or escape. Pain does not defeat people, meaninglessness does. When the mind attaches struggle to purpose, endurance becomes possible. When it attaches struggle to hopelessness, surrender feels logical. Learning keeps the mind alive. The moment you stop learning, you start declining. The powerful mind stays curious, open, and hungry. It studies not only books, but experience. It extracts lessons from mistakes. It listens without ego. Growth becomes a lifestyle, not a phase. And now understand this, the mind is not meant to be tamed once and forgotten. It must be governed daily. Thoughts must be chosen. Beliefs must be reinforced. Vision must be revisited. Without attention, the mind drifts back to fear, comfort, and old patterns. Mastery is maintenance. You are not powerless. You never were. You have simply been underestimating the force you wake up with every morning. The mind is the beginning of everything you will ever build. Guard it, train it, feed it truth, direct it with purpose, because once you master your mind, the world has no choice but to respond. The mind, when left unattended, will always drift toward comfort. And comfort is the quiet enemy of greatness. It whispers excuses that sound reasonable. It paints delay as patience and fear as caution. And unless you take authority over your thoughts, your own mind will negotiate you out of the very life you were meant to live. You must understand this clearly. The mind does not seek truth by default. It seeks familiarity. Whatever you have repeated long enough, whether empowering or destructive, becomes familiar and therefore feels safe. This is why people cling to patterns that hurt them. This is why potential remains locked away for years. The mind confuses the known with the secure, even when the known is limiting. To break free, you must introduce new commands. Every dominant thought you plant in the mind must be reinforced with emotion. Emotion is the language the subconscious understands. A cold idea fades. A charged idea takes root. When you think about your future, do not think weakly. Do not imagine vaguely. See it, feel it, attach pride, hunger, purpose, and urgency to it. The mind moves fastest when emotion and clarity walk together. This is where vision becomes more than imagination. Vision is imagination disciplined by belief. It is the ability to hold an unseen reality with such conviction that your behavior begins to align before results appear. This is how the invisible becomes inevitable. Every great builder lived in two worlds at once. The present world others accepted, and the future world only they could see. Your mind must learn to dwell in that future without abandoning the present. You act today, but you think from tomorrow. You work where you are, but you decide from where you are going. This mental posture changes how you interpret obstacles. Resistance no longer feels like punishment. It becomes confirmation. Difficulty becomes evidence that you are moving in the right direction. The undisciplined mind asks, why is this happening to me? The disciplined mind asks, what is this training me for? This single shift separates those who break under pressure from those who are shaped by it. Faith plays a role here, not blind faith, but intelligent faith. Faith is the decision to act before proof appears. It is not denial of reality, it is commitment to possibility. Every advance in history required someone to move without guarantees. The mind that waits for certainty never moves at all. Certainty is created after action, never before it. You must also learn to guard the gates of your mind. Every word you hear, every image you consume, every voice you repeatedly listen to leaves an imprint. The mind absorbs suggestion constantly. If you feed it doubt, it will grow doubt. If you feed it fear, it will magnify fear. If you surround it with small thinking, it will shrink your vision to match. Be ruthless about mental diet. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not every opinion deserves space in your head. Silence can be strength when it protects focus. Solitude can be power when it sharpens purpose. There will be moments when your mind rebels. Old habits will demand attention. Past failures will attempt to rewrite your future. In those moments, do not argue emotionally. Command mentally. Replace the thought. Redirect the image. Speak to yourself with authority. The mind responds to leadership, not pleading. Action is the final proof of mental power. Thought without action decays into fantasy. Action without thought collapses into chaos. But when thought and action move together, momentum is born. Small actions, executed consistently under a focused mind, outperform bursts of motivation every time. Understand this deeply. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall or rise to the level of your mental discipline. The world does not reward intention. It responds to alignment. When your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions move in the same direction, resistance weakens, and there comes a moment, quiet, often unnoticed, when the mind stops resisting growth and starts demanding it, when discipline no longer feels forced, when focus feels natural, when vision pulls you forward instead of effort pushing you from behind. That is the moment you begin to operate from power instead of potential. The mind was never meant to be your prison. It was meant to be your instrument. Tune it daily. Challenge it constantly. Direct it deliberately. Because once the mind is mastered, circumstance loses its grip, fear loses its voice, and limitation loses its authority. And from that place, everything changes.